Hey guys, Eli here with Full Performance again. Just doing a little overview on this Rx8 that I picked up. Actually came across that it did have a little bit of low compression to it, but a few things I did find on this car. It definitely has a lot of goodies to it. So it definitely has a Gret turbo set up on it. The issues I found with this is that the O2 sensor, the upstream, I replaced it with a new one, but whoever changed it out or attempted to change it out only screwed it in about halfway, and it was tore up by a plier. So definitely wrong hands in it. Also, the E-shaft sensor was disconnected on the front, so it wasn't seeing fuel or spark. When I did the compression test, it was pretty low. The initial thought as I opened everything up, I just left it dry. Got about 60 pounds out of both rotors. This is a home gauge, just a regular compression gauge, not the fancy Mazda one that measures each face, but I just paid attention to it to make sure it was doing 3 and not 2. Ended up just soaking the rotors down with training fluid, opened the plugs up, spun it over a few times, did another compression check, and everything went way up. So it went from 60 up to about 80 to 90 on both front and rear rotors. So at that point, I plugged in the E-shaft sensor, I pulled out the leading plugs. I was testing for spark, and when I hit my starter switch, the engine spun and it fired, like shot fire out of the side of the spark plug holes. I said, ooh, this thing wants to fire. So we dropped it back down, threw the plugs back in it, and I have a startup video you guys will see too. Definitely smoked a lot from the transmission fluid I had in it, but hey, it fired without having to pull the motor. I was ecstatic. From that point, I went ahead and just let the thing warm up, shut it back down, pulled the plugs back out of it, filled each rotor cavity with training fluid, put the plugs back in really loosely, and then I would just turn the motor over about a quarter turn a day, and I let it sit there for about a week and a half. Let that transmission fluid soak into those apex seals and the corner seals and anything else that might be carboned up, because this thing was really carboned up. I'm assuming the seals were actually stuck, and that's why it was getting low compression. I've had this thing on the road a couple times. The turbo is spooling up, I can hear it, but we're not getting any kind of boost, period. This thing's a dog. Running up and down the road, I can't rev it past 6,000 RPM. Seeing about 5 inches of vacuum when that turbo is just going buck nuts. I think what's going on is this thing originally had a plug cat, and all these problems came from that, and then it sat and low compression. So it still has the original cat on it. Original cat. 30,000 miles on this car. Okay, and then they welded on, and then from there on back we got a Gret dual exhaust, and it's all stainless steel, and it's been wrapped, which is rotting the muffler away. So like I said, the O2 sensor itself, the upstream, this was just barely threaded in, 1/4 inch. I thought it was cross threaded when I first seen it, because it was at an angle, like, oh boy, somebody's hands were into it. And you see all that? Somebody tore it all up and had a plier on the outside bridge of it, and this is not a cheap sensor. My cost on it through Rock Auto was like 180 bucks. So that got replaced right away. Tires were toast. I mean toast, rotten, gone. Tires on this thing, if I put the ones I wanted to put on it, they were like 350 bucks a piece for some Nittos, some really good ones. So I ended up just buying some El Cheapos off of Simple Tire, but they're a performance tire. They seem to work. The rims that are on this thing, they are JDM rim, and they are really, really light. I went ahead and just cleaned all the rotors up. I stuck them in the sandblaster, hit them with a Scotch-Brite pad, just cleaned them up real good. I was actually able to index them on the face of the hubs to get most of the run out. I think I'm about 200s, 300s, something like that. So we're right there. I was going to put pads of rotors on this thing right away because it needs it. Front pads are about 3 mil, rears are about 5, so it needs to be done. But this has got a performance package on it. The pad and rotor kit I was going to buy was like 380 bucks for just pads and rotors all the way around. At this point, I was just trying to get it on the road and get it shook down.